and welcome to Newsmakers. I'm your host, Nancy Lewis. Today we're going to be talking about Missouri as a right-to-work state. We're going to be talking to Missouri Representative John Rizzo. Thank you for being here. We're here today in the American Jazz Museum, which you can see behind us and which you should visit when you have a moment. Okay, so right-to-work bill in Missouri, go to the governor, but it didn't have enough support for a veto, right? So talk about the bill and then talk about what's going to happen.
Sure. Well, first, thanks for having me. I always enjoy doing these, especially after the session we just had. But yeah, right to work was definitely probably the biggest piece of legislation that was put on the governor's desk this year. The governor has already said he's going to veto it pretty quickly, and I don't believe that there's enough votes in the House to sustain or to override the veto right now. So I don't understand the reasoning why they did it. It caused all kinds of chaos in the Senate. Senate Democrats were not happy, eventually basically shutting down the Senate the last week of session, which is pretty historic.
I keep that thought for later because I want to talk to you
Sure.
about that part of it. So I know that Nixon, the governor, said, you know, rolling back the rights of working people would weaken our economy by lowering wages. I mean, there were lots of arguments against it.
Oh, absolutely. I think it pretty well goes without saying it causes lower wages for working Missourians, and we saw that theme throughout the entire session with the unemployment benefits trying to be lowered to 13 weeks, the lowest in the country. We saw it with TANF recipients being kicked off of assistance, which would cause, I believe it was 6,400 kids the first day it went into effect, which the Republican majority overrode the governor on. It was just an incredible session in regards to the attacks on working families and poor. So
what's the long-term effect of that? I'm assuming that those who voted for it did so to affect the bottom line right now. Talk to me about the long-term effects of that.
Well, I think that you're going to have a lot of legislators and representatives and senators that are going to have to go back to their community and explain why they took the votes that they did and why it was important to, in my opinion, kick working Missourians and the poor in the mouth, which is what they did. So they're going to have a lot of explaining to do to their constituents back home.
So, as a Democrat, what is your role and how do you affect these kind of policies?
Well, sure. Well, I'm obviously a Democrat from Kansas City, but I'm also the House Minority Whip, which means that I have to keep track of votes in the Missouri House and make sure that we deliver the votes on things that are important to us, which is hopefully one of the reasons why they were only able to get 92 votes on the last vote for right to work when they need 109 to override the governor during veto session, which will be September, and should be pretty interesting.
Okay, so now let's go back to that last week.
Sure.
Talk to me about that last week. That had to have just been nutty.
Sure. I've been down in Jefferson City for 4 sessions. This was my 5th, and I've never seen anything like it. We've seen the House meltdown, and we've seen the Senate meltdown the last week of session because that's when all the hard work is really being done, and it's a very pressure-filled, intense environment. And but we've never seen both meltdown, and we've never definitely seen both meltdown for different reasons. Right to work melted the Senate down for the reasons I stated. We had a scandal with the Missouri Speaker of the House who was doing some things he probably shouldn't have been doing through text message with a young intern, and it forced his resignation. And so basically I remember the Thursday, which is the second to last day before session, the Missouri House and Senate basically did no work, which is just unheard of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. An interesting end to the session. We'll see how next year goes. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Wish I had more time to talk to you.
Oh, sure. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here, and thank you for being here. We hope to see you next time on Newsmakers.